The galaxy was vast and cold, its stars indifferent to the plight of the tiny blue planet orbiting a yellow sun at its edge. For centuries, humanity had gazed skyward, dreaming of reaching beyond their cradle world. They built telescopes, launched satellites, and sent probes into the void, all in pursuit of one burning question. Were they alone? When the answer finally came, it wasn't what anyone expected. Chapter 1. The Ultimatum Captain. Ilara Voss stood on the bridge of the Aegis, her flagship staring out at the shimmering expanse of space. The ship's viewport framed the distant curve of Earth, a fragile marble suspended against the infinite blackness. She felt a pang of unease as she watched the blinking lights of orbital stations flicker faintly in the background. Something about today's mission didn't sit right with her. "Captain," said Lieutenant Marcus Hale, her second in command, snapping her attention back to the present. "We're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council." Ilara nodded, her sharp features betraying no emotion. "Patch it through." The holographic projector hummed to life, casting an ethereal glow across the bridge. A dozen alien figures materialized before them, each representing a member species of the Galactic Council. Their forms ranged from humanoid to utterly alien, some resembling crystalline structures, others pulsating masses of bioluminescent energy. At the center sat Chancellor Zinthar, a towering insectoid being whose chitinous exoskeleton gleamed under artificial light. "Greetings, Captain Voss," Zinthar began, his voice translated into smooth, clipped English by the universal translator embedded in the Aegis. "Your presence here marks a historic moment, the first official contact between your species and the Galactic Council." Ilara straightened, her tone measured. "Thank you, Chancellor. On behalf of humanity, we are honored to—" "Enough pleasantries," interrupted another counselor, a serpentine creature with iridescent scales. His forked tongue darted as he spoke. "Your kind has been deemed problematic. Your history of violence, environmental destruction, and unchecked expansion poses a threat to galactic stability. Therefore, after careful deliberation, the Council has decided that humanity shall remain isolated within your solar system indefinitely." The room fell silent. Ilara blinked, certain she'd misheard. "Isolated? You can't be serious." "I assure you, Captain, this is no jest," Zinthar replied, his mandibles clicking ominously. "Effective immediately, your solar system will be placed under quarantine. Any attempt to leave will result in immediate military intervention. Consider this decision final." Before Ilara could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. The crew scrambled to their stations as red warning lights bathed the bridge. "Captain!" shouted Ensign Lila Chen from her console. "Multiple unidentified vessels entering our sector. They're armed." Ilara's heart sank. "Raise shields and prepare evasive maneuvers. Mr. Hale, get us out of here." The Aegis shuddered as plasma bolts streaked past, narrowly missing its hull. Through the viewport, Ilara saw sleek warships emerging from hyperspace, their designs unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. The message was clear. The Council meant business. "Hold on tight, everyone," Ilara muttered as she gripped the armrests of her command chair. "This is going to get ugly." Chapter 2. The fall of unity back on Earth, chaos erupted almost instantly. News of the Council's ultimatum spread like wildfire, igniting protests, riots, and finger-pointing among nations. Governments convened emergency sessions, but unity proved elusive. Some blamed corporate greed for humanity's expulsion. Others accused rogue scientists who had broadcast signals into deep space without authorization. Conspiracy theories ran rampant, fueled by fear and misinformation. In New York City, thousands gathered outside the United Nations headquarters, demanding answers. Among them was Dr. Elias Kane, a gaunt man in his late 50s with piercing gray eyes and a mop of unruly white hair. Once celebrated as a visionary physicist, Kane had been ostracized years earlier for advocating research into faster-than-light travel, a concept deemed dangerous and impractical by mainstream science. Now, standing amidst the crowd, Kane listened intently to snippets of conversation. People whispered about doomsday scenarios, resource shortages, and inevitable starvation. But Kane saw opportunity where others saw despair. He knew humanity wouldn't survive isolation, not without drastic measures. As night fell, Kane slipped away from the mob and made his way to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. Inside, hidden beneath layers of dust and debris, lay the remnants of a secret project he'd worked on decades ago, Project Genesis. Its purpose? To develop a prototype drive capable of bypassing conventional physics and achieving instantaneous travel across vast distances. Kane activated the facility's power grid, illuminating rows of dormant machinery. The Genesis drive was incomplete, but it represented humanity's best and perhaps only chance of escaping the Council's blockade. If he could finish it in time, there might still be hope. Chapter 3. A desperate mission days turned into weeks as tensions escalated both in space and on Earth. The Aegis limped back to lunar orbit battered but intact. Ilara reported directly to General Samantha Hayes, commander of Earth's fledgling Space Defense Initiative. "We need options, Captain," Hayes said, pacing her office aboard the moon base Alpha. "If the Council cuts us off completely, we'll lose access to critical resources. Billions will die." Ilara crossed her arms, her expression grim. "Then we fight. We push back against their blockade and establish supply lines." Hayes shook her head. "You've seen their ships, Ilara. We're outmatched. Even if we managed to break through, they'd hunt us down. No, we need something else. Something unexpected." And at that moment, the door slid open, revealing Dr. Kane. His disheveled appearance contrasted sharply with the pristine surroundings, but his eyes burned with intensity. "General Hayes," he said, stepping forward, "I believe I have a solution." Hayes raised an eyebrow. "Dr. Kane, I thought you were retired." "Not quite," Kane replied with a wry smile. "I've spent years working on a classified project called Project Genesis. It involves a new type of propulsion system, one that could allow us to bypass the Council's blockade entirely." Ilara frowned. "Bypass it how?" "By folding space itself," Kane explained. "Imagine traveling not through distance but around it. With the Genesis drive, we could reach distant star systems in moments rather than lifetimes." Hayes leaned back in her chair, considering the implications. "Assuming this works, and that's a big assumption, it would require testing, and volunteers." Ilara stepped forward. "I'll lead the mission." "Absolutely not," Hayes snapped. "You're too valuable to risk on an unproven technology." "With respect, General," Ilara countered. "If this fails, humanity won't have much use for me anyway. Besides, someone needs to ensure the test goes smoothly." After a long pause, Hayes sighed. "Very well. Assemble a skeleton crew and prepare the Aegis for retrofitting. Dr. Kane, you'll oversee the installation of the Genesis drive." Kane nodded. "I'll need 48 hours. "You've got 24, Hayes replied firmly. "Time isn't on our side." Chapter 4. Into the unknown, the retrofitted Aegis looked more like a patchwork quilt than a state-of-the-art starship. Crew members worked tirelessly to integrate the Genesis drive into the ship's aging systems, welding panels and rerouting circuits in cramped corridors. Morale was low, but determination kept them going. Ilara walked the decks, offering encouragement where she could. When she reached engineering, she found Kane hunched over a console, muttering calculations under his breath. "How's it coming?" she asked. Kane glanced up, his face pale but resolute. "It's ready. Or as ready as it'll ever be. Just remember, Captain, this isn't a joyride. If anything goes wrong, we could end up anywhere, or nowhere." Ilara offered him a reassuring smile. "Understood. Thank you, Doctor." Hours later, the Aegis drifted silently near the edge of the solar system, just beyond Pluto's orbit. On board, the crew braced themselves for what lay ahead. Through the viewport, they could see the faint glimmer of the Council's blockade ships, their weapons trained on Earth like vultures circling prey. "All hands prepare for activation of the Genesis drive," Alara announced over the intercom. "This is it, people. Humanity's future depends on us. Let's make it count." Kane entered the final sequence, his fingers trembling slightly. The ship's engines roared to life, vibrating through every bulkhead. Then, with a blinding flash of light, the Aegis vanished. For a moment, there was nothing. No stars, no sound, no sensation. Just emptiness. And then, abruptly, the ship reappeared in a foreign star system. Alien suns burned brightly in the distance, bathing the crew in hues of gold and crimson. Cheers erupted across the bridge as realization dawned. They had done it. Against all odds, humanity had escaped its cage, but their journey was far from over. Epilogue, Seeds of Rebellion on Earth, News of the Aegis. Success sparked a mixture of hope and panic. While some hailed Alara and her crew as heroes, others feared retaliation from the Council. Protests intensified, calling for resistance against the blockade. Meanwhile, in the shadows of space, the seeds of rebellion took root. Survivors of the Exodus fleet began laying the groundwork for a new chapter in human history, one defined not by fear, but by resilience and ambition. The Galactic Council had underestimated humanity once. They wouldn't make the same mistake twice. The Aegis drifted silently through the unfamiliar star system, its crew still reeling from their successful escape. The Genesis drive had worked, a miracle born of desperation and ingenuity. But now they faced a new challenge: survival. Humanity's future depended on finding resources, allies, and answers in this uncharted corner of the galaxy. Captain Alara Voss stood on the bridge, her sharp gaze fixed on the swirling nebula outside the viewport. Her mind raced with possibilities. What secrets lay hidden among these stars? Could humanity carve out a foothold here, far from the Council's reach? Or would this alien wilderness prove just as hostile? She turned to Dr. Elias Kane, who was poring over data streaming in from the ship's sensors. "What do we know so far?" she asked. Kane adjusted his glasses, his face illuminated by the glow of holographic displays. "This system is teeming with anomalies," he replied. "There are traces of artificial structures scattered across several planets and moons. Whoever built them is long gone, but their technology might still be intact." Alara nodded thoughtfully. "If we can salvage anything useful, it could give us an edge against the Council. Or help us build something entirely new," Kane added, his voice tinged with excitement. "Imagine what we could achieve with access to advanced alien tech." Before Alara could respond, Lieutenant Marcus Hale approached, his expression tense. "Captain, we've detected faint energy signatures emanating from a nearby moon. It's heavily cratered, but preliminary scans suggest there's some kind of underground facility." Alara straightened. "That's our next stop. Prepare a landing party." Chapter 1. The Ruins of Eternity. The shuttle descended through the moon's thin atmosphere, its thrusters kicking up clouds of gray dust. Alara led the team, clad in reinforced exosuits designed to withstand harsh environments. Beside her, Kane fidgeted nervously, clutching a handheld scanner that emitted periodic beeps. As they touched down near the source of the energy signature, the crew disembarked and made their way toward a jagged opening in the rocky terrain. Inside, they discovered a labyrinthine network of tunnels lined with metallic walls etched in strange symbols. "These glyphs look ancient," Kane murmured, running his gloved fingers over the carvings. "They're unlike anything I've seen before. Whoever created this place must have been incredibly advanced." "Advanced enough to leave behind working tech?" Alara asked pointedly. Kane hesitated. "Possibly, but we'll need time to decipher the language. Without understanding the context, activating anything blindly could be catastrophic." Alara nodded. "Then let's get to work." Over the next several hours, the team mapped the ruins, cataloging artifacts and recording every detail. They eventually stumbled upon a massive chamber dominated by a towering obelisk pulsating with blue light. At its base was a circular platform inscribed with more glyphs. "This has to be important," Kane said, his voice trembling with awe. He activated the scanner, which began translating the symbols into fragmented phrases. Guardians of the void. Protectors of balance. Seekers beware. Suddenly the obelisk flared brighter, and a deep, resonant voice echoed through the chamber. Startled, the crew instinctively reached for their weapons. You dare disturb the sanctum of the eternal Empire, the voice intoned, seemingly coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. Prove your worth or perish. Alara stepped forward cautiously. We mean no harm. We seek knowledge, to survive. The voice paused, then spoke again. Knowledge carries a price. Are you prepared to pay? Before anyone could answer, the ground beneath them shifted, revealing a series of platforms suspended over a bottomless chasm. The air shimmered as holographic projections appeared above each platform, depicting complex puzzles and challenges. Well, Kane muttered dryly, this should be fun. Chapter 2. Trials of the Ancients. The trials tested not only the crew's intelligence and physical prowess, but also their ability to work together under pressure. Each puzzle required collaboration, forcing the team to rely on one another's strengths. In one trial, Ilara guided the group through a maze filled with shifting walls and deadly traps, using her tactical expertise to anticipate danger. In another, Kane demonstrated his brilliance by solving intricate mathematical equations embedded in glowing panels. Even Marcus proved invaluable, using brute strength to manipulate heavy mechanisms blocking their path. Despite moments of tension, especially when tempers flared during particularly difficult tasks, the crew emerged stronger and more united. By the time they reached the final trial, they moved with seamless coordination, trusting each other implicitly. The last challenge took them to a vast arena where holographic adversaries materialized, wielding weapons and tactics far beyond human capabilities. Outnumbered and outgunned, the crew fought valiantly, relying on clever maneuvers and teamwork to prevail. When the final enemy fell, the arena dissolved into darkness. The same resonant voice returned, this time laced with approval. You have proven yourselves worthy, it declared. Take what you need, but remember, power without wisdom leads only to ruin. With that, the obelisk dimmed, and the chamber transformed. Hidden compartments opened, revealing caches of advanced technology, including schematics for faster-than-light engines, terraforming devices, and even weapons capable of rivaling those of the Galactic Council. Kane stared wide-eyed at the treasures before him. This changes everything. Chapter 3. The Hunter fleet news of the Exodus fleet's survival did not go unnoticed by the Galactic Council. Despite their efforts to maintain secrecy, the energy spike caused by the Genesis drives, activation had been detected by Council surveillance drones. Shock rippled through the Council chambers as reports confirmed that humanity had breached their blockade. Chancellor Zinthar slammed a clawed fist onto the table. How is this possible? We forbade them from leaving their solar system. Admiral Zyrax, commander of the Council's elite hunter fleet, stepped forward. His reptilian scales gleamed menacingly in the dim light. It appears the primitives have acquired forbidden technology. Rest assured, Chancellor, I will personally ensure they do not threaten galactic stability again. Zinthar nodded curtly. Eliminate them. Leave no trace. Meanwhile, aboard the Aegis, Ilara received an urgent transmission from Earth. General Hayes's face appeared on the screen, her expression grim. Captain, we've lost contact with several colonies. The Council has launched a full-scale invasion. They're targeting our settlements indiscriminately. Ilara clenched, her fists. They're punishing us for escaping. There's more, Hayes continued. One of our operatives intercepted intel suggesting the Council knows about the ruins. If they find out what you've discovered, they'll stop at nothing to destroy you. Ilara exchanged a glance with Kane. Understood. We'll stay off the grid and fortify our position. Tell Earth to hold on, we're going to fight back. Chapter 4. Seeds of Resistance. Using the technology salvaged from the ruins, the Exodus fleet began constructing a new generation of starships. These vessels were faster, stronger, and better armed than anything humanity had previously possessed. Under Kane's guidance, engineers integrated alien designs with human ingenuity, creating hybrid systems that surpassed even the Council's expectations. But technological advancements weren't enough. To truly stand a chance against the Council, humanity needed allies. Ilara tasked Marcus with leading diplomatic missions to neighboring star systems, seeking out species dissatisfied with the Council's tyranny. Their first breakthrough came when they encountered the Velari, a peaceful aquatic race whose homeworld had been ravaged by Council mining operations. Moved by humanity's plight, the Velari agreed to provide medical supplies and intelligence in exchange for protection. Word spread quickly. Other oppressed species joined the cause, forming a loose coalition determined to overthrow the Council's dominance. For the first time in decades, hope flickered across the galaxy, yet betrayal lurked in the shadows. Back on Earth, a high-ranking official named Senator Caldwell sold classified information to the Council in exchange for amnesty. His actions compromised several key colonies, forcing the Exodus fleet to abandon them in retreat. Enraged, Ilara vowed to make the Council pay. "They think they can crush us," she told her crew. "But they've underestimated us once too many times. It's time to show them what happens when you push humanity too far." Epilogue. A new dawn as the Exodus fleet regrouped in a hidden asteroid field. Preparations began for a daring counteroffensive. Using data provided by their newfound allies, they identified a heavily fortified Council stronghold, located near the edge of known space. "This is it," Ilara announced during a briefing. "Our chance to strike back. If we can take this station, we'll cripple the Council's supply lines and inspire others to rise up." The crew erupted into cheers, their spirits buoyed by the promise of vengeance and redemption. Humanity had been cast out, ridiculed, and hunted, but now they stood poised to reclaim their place among the stars. Little did they know, however, that the battle ahead would test them in ways they couldn't imagine, and that victory would come at a cost none of them were prepared to pay. Decades had passed since humanity's daring escape from Earth's quarantine zone. The Exodus fleet, once a ragtag group of survivors clinging to hope, had grown into a formidable interstellar empire. Under the leadership of Grand Admiral Ilara, Voss humanity had carved out a sprawling dominion across dozens of star systems, hidden from the prying eyes of the Galactic Council. Their colonies thrived, protected by cutting-edge technology reverse-engineered from ancient alien ruins, and bolstered by alliances with oppressed species who shared their disdain for the Council's tyranny. Yet despite their success, shadows loomed on the horizon. Whispers of humanity's resurgence had reached the Council's ears, sparking outrage among its members. What began as scornful dismissal had turned into outright fear. The primitives they had cast aside were now a force to be reckoned with, a threat that could destabilize galactic order itself. The stage was set for a clash of civilizations, and when it came, it would shake the stars themselves. Chapter 1. The Council's wrath in the opulent council chambers of the Galactic Core. Chancellor Zinthar presided over an emergency session. The insectoid leader's mandibles clicked furiously as holographic projections displayed images of human-controlled territories. Star systems once deemed insignificant now pulsed with activity. Shipyards churning out advanced vessels, terraforming projects transforming barren worlds into lush paradises, and trade routes bustling with commerce. "This cannot continue," hissed Counselor Zilvra, a serpentine being whose forked tongue flicked menacingly. "These savages have amassed power far beyond what we anticipated. If left unchecked, they will inspire rebellion across the galaxy." Admiral Zyrax, commander of the Council's hunter fleet, stepped forward. His reptilian scales shimmered under the artificial light as he addressed the assembly. "Chancellor, I propose a full-scale invasion. We must annihilate their forces and dismantle their infrastructure before they grow stronger." Zinthar hesitated, his multifaceted eyes glinting with calculation. "An invasion carries risks. Humanity has proven resourceful and their allies are numerous. However," he paused, then slammed a clawed fist onto the table. "We have no choice. Mobilize the fleet. This ends now." As the Council adjourned, Cyrax allowed himself a predatory grin. For years he had pursued humanity like a shadowy predator stalking its prey. Now at last he would finish what he started. Chapter 2. The Battle for Epsilon 7. The first major engagement occurred at Epsilon 7, a strategically vital colony located near the edge of human-controlled space. Its orbital shipyards produced the bulk of the Empire's fleet, making it a prime target for the Council's assault. Ilara stood on the bridge of the Aegis, her flagship transformed into a juggernaut bristling with weapons and armor. Through the viewport she watched as hundreds of Council warships emerged from hyperspace, their sleek designs gleaming ominously against the backdrop of stars. "Report," she ordered calmly. Lieutenant Marcus Hale, now her trusted second-in-command, responded immediately. "Enemy forces outnumber us 3-1, but our defenses are holding for now. They're focusing fire on the shipyards." Ilara nodded grimly. "Divert all available power to the shields. Launch fighter squadrons and prepare boarding parties. We need to buy time for the civilians to evacuate." The battle erupted into chaos. Plasma bolts streaked through space, lighting up the void with bursts of fiery explosions. Human fighters darted between enemy ships, their agility giving them an edge despite being outgunned. Meanwhile, Marines armed with alien-inspired weaponry boarded several Council vessels, sabotaging critical systems and sowing confusion among their ranks, but the odds were overwhelming. One by one, the orbital shipyards fell, consumed by flames. As the last station crumbled, Ilara made a painful decision. "Signal retreat, fall back to Gamma Outpost." Her voice carried authority, but inside, she seethed with frustration. Every loss stung, not just because of the resources destroyed, but because it meant more lives sacrificed in humanity's fight for survival. Chapter 3. Betrayal. Within back at Gamma Outpost, a hastily fortified asteroid base serving as the Empire's temporary headquarters, tensions ran high. Casualties from the Battle of Epsilon 7 weighed heavily on everyone's minds, and whispers of dissent began to spread. Dr. Elias Kane, now elderly but still sharp-witted, approached Ilara in her quarters. "We can't keep fighting like this," he said bluntly. "Every victory comes at too great a cost. We need a new strategy." Ilara sighed, rubbing her temples. "I'm open to suggestions, Doctor, but right now, we're barely holding together." Before Kane could respond, alarms blared throughout the outpost. Both rushed to the command center where Marcus awaited them with grim news. "One of our own betrayed us," he announced, his tone heavy with anger. "Senator Caldwell leaked classified data about our defensive positions to the Council. That's how they knew exactly where to strike at Epsilon 7. Ilara felt a cold fury rise within her. Caldwell had always been ambitious, but she never imagined he'd sell out his own people. "Where is he?" she demanded. "He fled during the evacuation," Marcus replied. "Our intel suggests he's seeking asylum with the Council." Kane shook his head in disgust. "This is why trust is so fragile, even among ourselves." Ilara clenched her fists. "We'll deal with Caldwell later. For now, we fortify our remaining colonies and prepare for the next wave. The Council won't stop until we're wiped out, or until they're forced to negotiate." Chapter 4. Turning the tide. Determined to turn the tide of the war, Ilara devised a bold plan. Instead of retreating further into hiding, she proposed launching a counteroffensive aimed at capturing a key Council stronghold, Nexus Prime, a heavily fortified space station that served as a logistical hub for their operations. "It's risky," Marcus admitted during a briefing. "Their defenses are impenetrable." "Not entirely," Kane interjected, pulling up holographic schematics. "Using the ancient tech we salvaged, I've developed a prototype EMP device capable of disabling their shield generators. If we can breach the perimeter, we stand a chance." Ilara studied the plans carefully. "Then we strike hard and fast. Coordinate with our allies. They'll provide distractions while we hit the station directly." The operation unfolded with precision. While Allied fleets engaged Council forces in skirmishes across multiple sectors, the Aegis led a stealth squadron toward Nexus Prime. Guided by Kane's EMP device, they managed to disable the station's outer defenses, allowing boarding parties to infiltrate its interior. Inside, the fighting was brutal. Marines clashed with Council troops in narrow corridors, while engineers worked feverishly to seize control of the station's core systems. At one point, Alara herself joined the fray, wielding a plasma rifle as she fought alongside her crew to secure the command center. When the dust settled, the human flag flew proudly above Nexus Prime. More importantly, they discovered damning evidence of the Council's corruption, records detailing illegal experiments, resource exploitation, and even genocide committed against weaker species. Epilogue. A galaxy united with Nexus Prime under their control, humanity called for peace negotiations. Representatives from every corner of the galaxy gathered aboard the captured station, united by a shared desire for change. For the first time in centuries, voices other than those of the Council dominated discussions about the future of galactic governance. As the assembled delegates debated, Alara addressed them, her words echoing through the chamber. For too long the Council has ruled through fear and oppression. Today we offer a different path, one built on cooperation, equality, and mutual respect. Together, we can forge a new era, not just for humanity, but for all sentient beings. Her speech sparked a wave of applause, followed by pledges of support from countless species. Even former adversaries expressed willingness to join the nascent alliance, recognizing the potential for a better future. Outside the station, ships from diverse races formed a protective ring around Nexus Prime, symbolizing unity in the face of uncertainty. Among them hovered the Aegis, its battered hull bearing scars of battles fought and won. Alara gazed at the sight, feeling a rare sense of pride. Humanity had risen from exile to become leaders of a galactic revolution. Though challenges remained, the seeds of a brighter tomorrow had been planted, and they would flourish in time. The galaxy quaked under the weight of war. Entire star systems had been consumed by battles that spanned light years, their skies lit with the fiery aftermath of orbital bombardments and collapsing stations. Billions of lives, human and alien, alike, had been lost in the struggle between humanity's fledgling empire and the entrenched might of the Galactic Council. Yet amidst the chaos, a fragile hope emerged. For the first time in millennia, the Council's dominance was no longer absolute. Humanity had proven itself not just as survivors but as pioneers of a new vision for the galaxy. Now, as the conflict reached its crescendo, the fate of countless civilizations hung in the balance. It was time to decide whether this war would end in destruction or rebirth. Chapter 1. The Final Stand. The climactic battle unfolded at the heart of the Council's capital world, Zenith Prime, a glittering planet encased in shimmering force fields and orbited by an impenetrable armada. Admiral Xerax himself commanded the defense, his reptilian eyes gleaming with determination as he prepared to crush humanity once and for all. On board the Aegis, Grand Admiral Alara Voss reviewed the plan one final time. Her fleet, bolstered by allies from across the galaxy, stood ready to breach the Council's defenses. The operation was codenamed Operation Eclipsing Dawn, a reference to humanity's journey from darkness into light. Our objective is simple, Alara said during a pre-battle briefing. We take out their command center and broadcast evidence of their crimes to the galaxy. If we succeed, we'll shatter their legitimacy forever. Dr. Elias Kane, frail but resolute, nodded from his station. The EMP device has been upgraded. One pulse will disable their shields long enough for us to strike. Marcus Hale, now a seasoned commander, added, Our allies will handle the flanks while we punch through the center. Timing is everything. As the fleets engaged, space erupted into a maelstrom of energy and debris. Plasma bolts streaked across the void, illuminating the battlefield with flashes of destruction. Human fighters darted between enemy ships, their agility giving them an edge despite being outnumbered. Meanwhile, alien vessels launched coordinated attacks, drawing fire away from the Aegis and its escorts. At the critical moment, Kane activated the EMP device. A wave of electromagnetic energy surged outward, plunging the Council's fleet into disarray. Their shields flickered and failed, leaving their flagship vulnerable. "Now," Alara shouted, gripping the armrests of her command chair. The Aegis surged forward, its weapons blazing as it carved a path toward Zyrax's command ship. Chapter 2. Duel of Titans. Inside the Council flagship, alarms blared as boarding parties breached its hull. Alara led the charge, her plasma rifle cutting down enemies with precision. Behind her, Marcus and a squad of elite Marines fought fiercely, clearing corridors and securing key areas. They eventually reached the command center, where Admiral Zyrax awaited them. Towering over his subordinates, the reptilian commander unsheathed twin blades forged from blackened steel. His voice rumbled like thunder. "You dare challenge me? I am the hammer of the Council." Alara stepped forward, her weapon trained on him. "Your tyranny ends here, Zyrax." The duel was intense. Zyrax moved with terrifying speed, his blades slicing through air and metal alike. Alara matched his ferocity, using cover and strategy to stay alive. Sparks flew as their weapons clashed, each strike reverberating through the chamber. Finally, seizing an opening, Alara landed a decisive blow, disabling Zyrax's weapon arm. He staggered back, breathing heavily. For a moment, they locked eyes. Predator and prey turned equals. "You've earned my respect," Zyrax admitted grudgingly. "But this war is far from over." "It doesn't have to be," Alara replied, lowering her weapon. "Surrender, and help us build something better." After a tense pause, Zyrax dropped his remaining blade. "Very well, I yield." Chapter 3. A new beginning. With Zyrax defeated and the Council's command structure in ruins, the human-led Alliance seized control of Zenith Prime. Broadcast towers transmitted damning evidence of the Council's atrocities to every corner of the galaxy, sparking outrage and rebellion among oppressed species. In the aftermath, representatives from countless races gathered aboard the captured Council headquarters to discuss the formation of a new governing body. This time, however, power would not rest in the hands of a single elite group. Instead, a coalition of diverse voices, the Galactic Concord, would guide the galaxy toward peace and prosperity. Alara addressed the assembly, her tone firm yet hopeful. "For too long, fear ruled our galaxy. Today we choose a different path, one built on trust, cooperation, and mutual respect. Together we can create a future where everyone thrives." Her words resonated deeply, earning thunderous applause. Species once pitted against each other embraced as allies, united by a shared vision of progress. Among the delegates was Dr. Elias Kane, who delivered a stirring speech about humanity's journey. "We were cast out, labeled as unworthy, but look at us now. We didn't let despair define us. Instead, we chose to rise. That spirit, that resilience, is what will carry us forward." Chapter 4. Legacy and sacrifice. As celebrations erupted across the galaxy, tragedy struck. During the final stages of dismantling the Council's infrastructure, Kane volunteered to lead a dangerous mission to neutralize a hidden superweapon capable of obliterating entire planets. Despite warnings from his colleagues, he insisted on going personally. "I'm old," he told Alara before departing. "If I can ensure this weapon never threatens anyone again, it'll be worth it." Hours later, transmissions confirmed that Kane had succeeded, but at great cost. The facility self-destructed moments after he disabled the weapon, claiming his life. News of his sacrifice spread quickly, turning him into a symbol of unity and selflessness. Alara mourned privately, remembering the man who had risked everything to give humanity a fighting chance. "He always believed in us," she whispered to herself, "even when we doubted ourselves." Epilogue. Renewal on Earth, abandoned decades earlier during humanity's exile. Green shoots sprouted from barren soil. Rain fell gently, washing away layers of dust and decay. Slowly but surely the planet began to heal, a reflection of humanity's own transformation. In orbit, construction crews worked tirelessly to rebuild Earth's shattered cities, guided by technology salvaged from ancient ruins. Refugees returned home, their hearts filled with hope. Among them was Ilara, who chose to retire from active duty and dedicate herself to rebuilding her cradle world. From the bridge of the Aegis, Marcus, Hale assumed command of the newly formed Galactic Concord fleet. As he gazed at the stars, he felt a profound sense of purpose. Humanity had come so far, from pariahs to leaders, and their journey was just beginning. Far beyond the reaches of known space, explorers ventured into uncharted territories, seeking new worlds and possibilities. The galaxy was vast, full of mysteries waiting to be uncovered. And for the first time in history, it belonged not to conquerors but to dreamers.